Hey everyone, quick chat about going off program and how it might not be as bad as you think it is, or there might be some positives to going off your program. As a coach and someone that has written programs and love programming, I've been doing it for over 10 years now. I presume that most of my athletes go off program, and most of the time, or at least some of the time, hopefully, they do tell me. So my first point that I wanted to make is if you are going off your program, I really do recommend telling me or telling your coach. And I wanted to discuss how I'm not going to say that I like it when people go off program, but I really don't think it's wrong or bad. And the first thing is if you're just changing the program, then we see it as good. If someone says to me, I skipped this exercise because my elbow hurt, I did this instead. I was really tired today, so I did this instead of this. Exhausted, grumpy, feeling weak. People change things, and we like that as a coach. We like it when the athlete is internal and adjusting things based on how they feel. So therefore, we can't really look down on it too much when the athlete does the opposite. They look within and they go heavier, or they change exercises or do something like that. And that's within reason. Obviously, going too heavy too often, probably a no-go, but changing things and going heavier or going off program, maybe it's okay. You made an internal decision based on feel rather than a program telling you what to do, because the program really is there. Your coach or I wrote it for you as a medium case scenario. I'm not expecting you to be at your absolute best every session, feeling on top of the world, invigorated, loved and nourished, but I'm also hoping that you're not feeling too down, broken and disgusted. So it's a medium case scenario. When we program for people, we have like a minimum effective dose, maybe a touch more, and for some people we put a lot of stuff in because they like it, and other people just like having the bare minimum in their program because they don't like the feeling if they don't get around to doing all of it. But I digress. So we've got changing the program, which we like. Going off program, I guess what most people mean is they did a lift that wasn't in their program, and most likely they went extremely heavy on it. That's mainly what people are saying. To me, that's still not the end of the world. Most likely it was an emotional decision. Maybe boredom. Is your program too boring? Let's discuss it. Is there a lift that you just missed doing, that maybe you're training for a competition and you went and did some farmer's carry, even though maybe you're training for powerlifting, or maybe there's no farmer's carry coming up in your competition, but you enjoy doing it, everyone else is doing it, and you ended up maxing out. It's like, cool, do we want to put that in your program? Maybe let's find a way to put it in. If you like CrossFit workouts because the feeling it gives you, okay, that doesn't really fit with your goals of winning this next competition, but I want you to be happy and I want you to enjoy your training. So how can we fit it in? And we're all different. Some people will just be like, tell me exactly what I need to do my best at the competition, and they'll do exactly that. And other people, kind of myself included, if I was to do a strength training program that was guaranteed results and it was 2 or 3 days a week, I'm going to add in some bodybuilding training and I'm going to add in stuff. So I would let my coach know that if I was to have one. And I'd say, I really enjoy this. This is a big part of my life. I really want to include it. I don't mind if it means my gains are 5% less. If I get to do this, I'm going to be a better person, and therefore I believe my gains will be even better. I hope that makes sense. So if there's something that you miss doing and you're going off program to do it, let your coach know. And as a coach, guys, if your athlete says that they enjoy doing something, of course say, this doesn't really work within your goals of this. Are you aware? And then work together to achieve it. Like, well, what's the minimum? Let's say someone likes running. And they like running 20k runs. I don't even know if that's a lot. Let's say they like doing 10 to 20k runs a few times a week. I'd be like, cool, really not going to help your goals that you hired me for. Do you want to not do it? Can you not do it? Or how can we make it so that it works into the program without overdoing things? What can I take out of your program? What restraints and limitations could we maybe put on the runs so that we're not really going too crazy with the abuse of the body? Okay, so the next point is you have hired your coach. You've hired me to tell you what to do so that you don't have to make the decisions when you get to gym. We're really, as a coach, we're trying to save you time so you don't make the errors that we made, maybe doing exercises that don't do much, or volume that is useless, junk volume they call it, training too often. That doesn't mean that you can't go and make your own mistakes, because pain is the best teacher, or one of the great teachers. No, I think it's the best teacher. Pain is a great teacher. And if you decide to max out on something that wasn't in your program, if you hurt yourself, which is the worst case scenario, I guess, if you hurt yourself, you'll learn from it. And okay, maybe you don't get to compete at this competition and it seems disastrous right now, but maybe in the future, that learning curve that you went through is going to help you not overtrain or max out or go off program in the future. So therefore, was it a bad thing? Maybe you max out and the fatigue that it creates, like if someone does a heavy yoke, it always worries me leading into a competition. You can really fatigue your system a little bit, and depending on who you are and how long to the competition, you're not going to undo weeks of training, but we want to peak the nervous system and have the muscles fresh for competition in a certain day. And you're just making it hard for yourself and the coach. That's all. So what I'm saying with that is, if you go off program, it's like, cool, thanks for letting me know. How do you feel about it now? Was it the right decision? Do you feel better? Was it an emotional decision and you just wanted to do an exercise because it was there, because everyone else was doing it? And how do you feel now? Like, as a coach, guys, you can just ask your athlete, cool, was it the right decision? Because on paper, it looks like it's too much, but I wasn't there. I'm not you. I'm not in your body. You tell me, was it too much? And then just have a chat with them. So same thing. Never a right or wrong answer. The other thing I really like is, like I was saying at the start, is when the athlete is able to go internal and able to decide on their program on the spot. I think that's a great thing. So if someone does go off program, maybe you can just use it, whether you're the athlete or the coach, use it as a way to chat about, cool, how can we adjust your program? Or you can learn about your client, or you can learn about your coach and chat about why you made that decision as well, because often it's going to be an emotional one. The one bad one, so all those are like yes, no, maybes, I don't mind it. The one bad reason, I think, cheese and rice, fucking birds, man. The one bad reason to go off program is you're 3 weeks out from a competition. If you're one of my athletes, you probably haven't hit comp weight on a couple of things, like deadlifts. I might not get you to hit comp weight deadlifts or comp weight yoke before a competition. And you see someone else that you're competing against post a video and they do the weight and you get worried. And from a place of lack or a place of not low self-esteem, but a place of worry, you go and test yourself to make sure that you're strong enough. That's something that when I owned the gym, I really tried to reiterate. We don't have to hit comp weight yoke in competition. We don't have to hit comp weight in training. We don't have to hit those weights in training. If we're training a lot with 70% and 80%, and if I can get you hitting 90% really well a week or two before competition, we're going to cruise at the comp. And I've done it myself so many times, and with athletes seen it done so many times, that I have full faith in that. If you don't have faith in your abilities or faith in the coach or the programming, you might go and test yourself. And it's from a place of worry. It's from a place of comparing to others. And I don't like that. It could still end up okay, but for the most part, I really like to remind people, if you see videos of people doing something in training that you haven't done yet, it doesn't mean you can't do it. Let me tell you, it doesn't mean that person's going to perform like that on the day or that they're going to show up. So don't worry about what other people are doing in training, and try not to go test yourself just because you don't know if you can do something. If you have a 300 kilo yoke coming up and you're training with a good weight would be, I think, between 230 and 260, training for 300 kilo yoke. I've seen people 3-4 days out from competition get worried. I promise on my life I've seen this. They get worried that they can't do it, and 3 or 4 days out they test themselves under the comp weight yoke. And they do it, and it's like, well, see, you can do it. Just because you hadn't done it doesn't mean you can't. And now you've lowered your chances of doing it on the day. Fucking hell. I fucking hate birds too. Does that make sense? So the only real negative is if you go and test something leading into a competition due to lack of faith or anything like that. So, and that same thing though, it comes from experience. You'll go through enough things where you realize, especially my athletes, how well they do after a deload, how well they do competition day, comp day nerves and adrenaline and things like that. Experiencing how much more you can do on comp day, especially on deadlifts and yoke, it gives you faith. So same thing, you just have to go through. It all comes down to experience. Bottom line is, I don't think going off program is bad. It should be a talking point between you and your coach. And an analogy that I thought of, I'm kind of known as the analogy queen. The analogy I thought of today was, going off program is very similar to masturbating. It's not wrong. You probably shouldn't do it all the time and everywhere. There may have been times, even in younger Smitz's life as a teenager, where he might have been home alone, maybe a bit worked up. Maybe he saw a certain video, Britney Spears video, came on Channel V, and he went off program. Maybe that happened, but you learn from it and you move on. I wasn't even really that into Britney Spears. It's just that's the first celeb that came into my mind. So, all right, I think that was a pretty good analogy. Hope you've enjoyed the video. Let me know what you think about going off program or what your coach thinks. And yeah, I wasn't that into Britney looks wise. That's the truth. And I've never masturbated in my life.